Welcome to Ugly Whiteboard Math. Although I don't know how much math I'm going to do today. I'm doing this top of the dome, so I don't know how it's going to go. But I'm watching a little bit of an argument on LinkedIn where two folks and some pylons are arguing on the fact that parallel dialing does not hurt performance, does not hurt reach. So they make the claim, someone made the claim that, and they are correct, by the way, that dialing multiple people at the same time, aka multi-line dialing, auto dialing, AI assisted dialing, parallel dialing, all the same thing, that it doesn't hurt connect rate, that it doesn't hurt reach rate. For those who don't know what reach rate is if I have 1,000 prospects, there's only a handful percentage, a minority percentage of people that you will ever reach on the phone or can ever reach on the phone. Oftentimes, those who you can reach on the phone, you don't reach. And that is even more true with parallel dialing. It is human behavior. People who think that that's not human behavior are completely incorrect. And they're selling you something that has either they're selling you parallel or they're selling you something in parallel to parallel, where they stand to benefit from parallel. So the main claims have been that parallel dialing hurts your connect rate. True. Parallel dialing hurts your reach rate, aka the reach that you get of the people in your list that you're going after. You call them 5, 6, 7, 8 times, right? We know that the deprecation of your reach or your connect rate starts to happen at about 7 dials. It starts to become a diminishing return to start dialing that. So you can call through on parallel dialing 7 times per contact. And the total percentage of that list that you ever reach, aka someone picks up on the first dial, the 5th dial, the 7th dial, is your quote unquote reach rate. And parallel dialing diminishes that reach rate. Let me actually, so you're not just listening to me talk in a small bubble here, sir. 1, it hurts your connect rate, right? So connect rate drops substantially. 2, it hurts your reach rate, which I just talked about. Keep up. 3, it hurts your conversion rate, right? So the stated claims is that when you parallel dial, it hurts your conversion rates in 2 ways. One of which is, I'm not going to type rate. One of which is that pause, right? The awkward pause afterwards. Automatically puts people on their heels and or you get hung up on in that pause. I personally hang up in that pause. I know many of you hang up in that pause. I ask this quite frequently, and I'm talking to prospects, is when you get a call and you do answer, assuming they are someone who does answer, and there is an awkward pause after you say hello, how frequently do you hang up? And the answer is almost inevitably, almost always. And so these 3 things are very true, very real, very impactful things that hurt your entire downstream funnel metrics, including your profitability and your CAC and everything that goes in between, your cost per outcome. So connect rate, let's talk about why the connect rate drops with parallel dialing. One of which is most parallel dialers do not have best practices built into them. So that's step 1, right? The auto rotating of numbers, having a large enough number bank, etc. The second thing is that you are doing so much velocity of dialings, quantity and speed of dialing, that inevitably your numbers do get marked as spam. And a lot of these dialing platforms do not have spam remediation tools that are good or at all that identify when a number gets spammed. It pulls it out of the queue so that it's not in the number pool that's getting rotated through. And so therefore your reps who are calling people who would have answered are now calling those same prospects who would have answered. Those people are getting spam likely showing up. People who would have answered do not answer spam likely phone numbers, myself included. And so all of those things contribute to a massive decline in connect rate. It is about 50%. Anyone who argues differently does not have receipts like I have receipts. And a lot of people who say it doesn't hurt your connect rate have only used parallel dialing, so they don't even know what their true connect rate would be had they power dialed, single line dialed that same list. And so this does cut your connect rate by 50%. That is accurate. That is true. I have receipts and data on all of that. Second, and what I want to spend the most time on today is the reach rate, is this hurts your reach rate substantially, right? So I'm going to give you a stat that most of you don't know, which is if this is your TAM, there is only about 20% on average, 15 to 25% of your market that you can ever get on the phone, When you parallel dial, because of some of the headwinds of connect rates, spam, likely, getting hung up on, etc., you cut that down by about 40% to where your reach is usually only about 12%. So you just cut off 40% of your reachable market simply because you chose to do the stupid model, which is parallel dialing. And I don't blame you. You've just bought into the marketing, right? So 12%. I'm going to show you that here in a second. And then conversation rate drops substantially, or conversion and conversation. So this is conversation. This is also conversion. This usually drops for every 0.7 seconds. I've done extensive studies on this. I've seen third-party extensive studies on this and independent studies. Your conversion rate tends to drop about 10% per 0.7 second delay. Some people have drastic delays. Some people have minimal delays, but everyone has a delay. And so you are taking a hurt on conversion, i.e., whatever you would get if you automatically connected with someone. If someone picked up and said hello and you hear the full hello and they hear you right away, that is your baseline connect rate. For every 0.7 second delay, second, that's an S, you will drop that by 10%. So if you're at a 10% meeting rate as your baseline, you will drop 0.7 seconds to 9. You will drop to 8 after 1.4 seconds. You will drop to 7 at 2.1 seconds. That is just a reality that has been thoroughly studied. Anyone who argues against it hasn't looked at the studies or haven't done any research themselves. Okay? But here's what I want to talk about: reach rate. So I wanted to run a study with a customer of ours where they have reps on TitanX and they have reps not using TitanX. They are using one of the two. I won't say which one. They both have the same problem. One's worse than the other. This is actually the better of the worse. And you guys know them as Orem and Nooks. I won't tell you which one. But reach rate was drastically impacted. How do I know that? Well, because they have a process where they dial through every contact at least 7 times, if not more, and they reach everyone. Once they have gone through that entire list, they have people who are called no answer, right? So, whoops, there's a calendar. They have a reach rate that is substantially less than what it should be. And they're like, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's true, et cetera. I said, let me prove it to you. So what do? We said, give me every contact, or give me a host of contacts you guys called last week, last month, et cetera, that went through your entire dial cadence, right? So 7 dials on each contact until you talk to them. Go through and find everyone with a no answer status, aka we called them enough times, 7 times or more, and they have a no answer. And this is what happened. So let me dial this in a little bit for you and show you. So first list here. We've got, it's a no answer list, right? So this is a list they pulled out of their parallel dialer, one of the two, of people that never answered. They sent it through. There was 1,895 contacts on this list, i.e. people that they spent, I guess you can imagine 7 dials across 1,895 people. They did somewhere north of 10,000 dials on this particular list to, that's more than that. It's actually almost 13,000. 13,000 dials on these 1,800 people and never got an answer. That's important. Why is that important? Well, because when they sent it through TitanX, our job is to do a few things, one of which is to identify what is your bad data, aka you're calling this person, they don't answer, or they do answer, and you don't have any clue whether or not it's actually their phone number. And there's always a percentage of your list, no one wants it, everyone has it, where you are calling people where your prospect doesn't even own that phone. So if someone answers, it will not even be your prospect and it will have been wasted dials. Now, on this list of 1,895, there's 112 that's bad data, right? So that means that 112 times 7 dials means that this was somewhere around 770 wasted dials that even if someone did answer and they didn't, you wasted 770 dials. Now you can do the math. Whatever your rep comp is for the month divided by how many dials they make is roughly your cost per dial. Take this number, multiply it by this. That means, let's say it's $2. You spent $1,500 dialing people that even if they answered never would have mattered. Okay? These are people that don't answer, or very, 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 very infrequently will answer, or seasonally answer. This bucket, and I'm going to change colors here, is the people who will and do. What does that mean? That means that they spent 395 times 7 dials. We're looking at roughly 2,800 dials. Let's say it's times $2 per dial. Equals $5,600 calling these people the 7 times each and never got them. However, they answer. So when I talk about hurting your reach rate, right, going from a 20% reach, or in their case, probably more like 28%, and cutting that down by 40%, down to 12 to 14 to 16%, they're leaving a lot of conversations on the table that they could have had they just chose to dial properly. Okay? So what that means is 20%, almost 21% of the people that never answered on 7 dials went through an entire queue, and now they're in a wastebasket, probably to be recycled in a few months and do this exact same process over again. 21% of those people, they could have gotten on the phone, but they didn't. You should start doing more math. Is that a fluke? No, we did it again. There's 7 of these lists. No answer. No answer. 12% was bad, right? So 12%, again, times 112, we're at another 770. That's now another $1,400, $1,500 wasted entirely calling bad data. The second is 148, or 16.86%, that they could have gotten had they just dialed normally. And by the way, they have now dialed these people, and they have reached 85% of them within 7 dials, dialing them with a single line dialer, not having the awkward pause, not having connect rate issues because they're using TitanX, and because they're not burning through their numbers and marked as spam. When you dial properly, when you know who you should call, it has a dramatic impact on everything. Your costs, your scale, your ramp, being able to reach the predominant amount of your market that is actually reachable. Unfortunately, we choose the cheat codes, or the marketed cheat codes, and we choose to parallel dial in the name of efficiency, and not realizing that efficiency is actually hurting effectiveness.